God, you're still great. God, you're still awesome. God, you're still faithful. God, I know what you said. God, I know what you promised. I know what you said you were going to do. I'm going to continue to praise you. I'm going to continue to lift you up. Because what a mighty God we serve. You are my healer. You are my deliverer. You are my way maker. God, I adore you. I reverence you. I give you all the glory because there's no one like you. There's no one mightier than you. There's no one more faithful than you. God, I trust you. God, I believe you.
Illustration. And it's going to make sense as we get more into the message. So, there was a young man who was ostracized and picked on by his commander because of his beliefs in Christ, the God he served. We would call him I. One day this commander wanted to embarrass and ridicule I in front of the men. So when the men were called into formation, this commander, this small-minded man, called I to break formation. Now, before I stepped out of formation, I asked permission to do so. This commander was so mad that he asked permission. You see, in the past, the commander, the small-minded man, was able to find fault in I. Because this commander, the small-minded man, said that I did not have the right to move in any form or fashion without his permission. And although the commander, this small-minded man, told I to move. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what in the world is wrong with this man? Why is he acting all cook-a-dook and funny when he asked the young man to move? So now you got to think of it in the terms of the game, Mother, May I? You don't move just on being told to do so. You move on asking the permission, and you wait for it to be granted to you. So let's get back to the story. The commander, this small-minded man, grants I the permission. I stepped out of the line. The commander runs up to I and is all in his face, trying to move him with yelling and spitting while he's talking, and yet I was unmovable. I did not break character no matter what was done by the commander, this small-minded man, because of the God I served. Now, was I always like this? Heck no. Did I take years to become mature in the Lord? Absolutely. Will it happen overnight? Not likely. But is it worth the fight? Definitely. In all his fury, the commander, the small-minded man, thinks that today I is going down. And the commander, the small-minded man, is going to prove to I and the rest of the men, this God I serves, he ain't all that. Okay. How many of you have heard your distractions? The small-minded speak to you and tell you, today is the day you believe no more. The commander, this small-minded man, tells I, go over there and start that Jeep and bring it before me. All right. I want you to look at your neighbor and say these. Neighbor, stop allowing small-mindedness to tell your God what power it thinks it has. But show your small-mindedness how great your God is. That's it. See, Mother May I, y'all gotta listen. Mother May I, knowing the commander, his small-mindedness, before asking permission of the commander, stops. But a brief moment, and he calls on the God I serve, asking if this be his will. Grant I permission, and now I ask permission. And he waits for it to be granted. Now, how many of you get put in these holding patterns? And you think it should have happened like 5 minutes ago, right? I know we are at that like traffic lights. What the world is taking us so long for it to happen? We are always in a hurry to go nowhere. But if you wait long enough, you might have missed that accident that was waiting for you. I steps out on the will of God. I serves and gets in the Jeep and he starts it up, bringing it before the commander, this small-minded man. Now, what I can't see is that as he cranked up the Jeep and brought it over, the men began to weep when I jumps out of the Jeep and comes before the commander. How many times have you been told you don't always get to see everything that's happening on the scene? This not so small-minded man again. I sees the commander in his small-mindedness broken and weeping. I stands before him and all of the men and ask, what in the world are you crying for? The commander, this not so small-minded man anymore, he goes and he runs to the Jeep and he opens the hood and he shows I. There was no engine in the Jeep. And there was no earthly way this Jeep should have moved. The commander, in his now open-mindedness, says, I want to serve the God you serve. I see, y'all ain't hearing me up in here. I can't be moved by small-mindedness and distractions. Because my destiny is too important to give up for anything or anyone. I am standing on the word of God, on what I've been seasoned for, not for what you've been seasoned for, but what I've been seasoned for. And what I've been seasoned with. I'm learning to dictate to my circumstances, and in that understanding, showing not just small-mindedness, but other issues that I didn't think and know were there to stop my destiny. We ourselves have hidden agendas that we don't know about ourselves. Amen. How great my God is. But let's be careful. Let's say the word careful. Did you catch that I almost missed the moment of the breaking? I was so caught up in trying to get past this uncomfortable moment that I didn't see that I was working in my destiny. These people watched me going through this small-mindedness, and yet I still stood. They watched as I was scorned, and yet still I stand. They see my character is picked apart, and Lord knows I know what that looks like. And yet, I still stand. So, this brings me to one question and the title of my message. Can one man change the world? History tells us that one person, one voice, or one action can have a huge impact on many. For instance, the Salt March led by Gandhi in India in 1930. The India was governed by the British colony, and they were taxed heavily on salt being imported in. Gandhi kept saying, the answer is right before us. Lord, give me the answer so that I may help my people. Pastor has often said, your answer might be on your pew. So, Gandhi led this 24-day march. And where did he lead them to? He led them to the ocean. Full of salt, y'all. He showed them the way, how to get there. And then he showed them the means of how to produce it. Now, of course, he was put in jail. And that's a whole different story. But he said, we need to be the change we wish to see in this world. Emily Davison, which probably don't even know her name, she was a person that protested suffrage of women. And so what she did at the Epsom Derby in the United Kingdom in 1913, she felt that one great tragedy would be the moment that was needed to impact her campaign. on the subject of women. So what she did was, which I don't know if I would have had the courage to do this, she threw her body in front of the horse of King James V in the middle of the Derby, and it trampled her to death. She died 4 days later. But she had to do it for all to see. Her body was a living sacrifice. She became the symbol of the struggle for women's rights to vote. It wasn't Susan B. Anthony first. It was this woman right here. I can go on and on with a whole host of different historical moments of one person that made such an impact that it changed the atmosphere and the environment in which it began. But as I was going through all of my little research that I do, I came across a speech that Dr. Martin Luther King did that I'd never heard. And it's called A Knock at Midnight. All right. And I identified with this moment because of what I felt as I heard his words. So in this speech he spoke of being gone all day from home, and he is going to meeting after meeting, and he's meeting with all these folks, and he gets home and he is ready just to drop in the bed. He's just tired, still tired. So what he does, he goes and he peeks at his daughter, because he only had one child at that time, and he peeks at his wife, and she's asleep as he gets ready for bed, and he lays his head down, and no sooner did he lay his head down did the phone ring. And on the other end was what he referred to as an ugly voice, who simply said, and I'm going to paraphrase this, "Negro, we are tired of all this that you have begun and this mess that you have started, and we want this to stop now." The ugly voice gave him an ultimatum. How many of you know that ultimatums? Well, it's one of those do or dies. And in this ultimatum, they told him he had 3 days to leave Alabama, or they were going to blow his brains out. They were going to bomb his home and kill his family. So I want you to ask yourself, have you ever received a call like that? So I'm not necessarily speaking of a call, be it a physical on the phone, but what I'm asking you is, have you had something come before you that came to destroy you and what you held dear? I'm referring to the voices. I'm referring to the naysayers, the ones who would rather you both fail than to see you rise above them. Have you ever had one of those ugly calls? Now, Dr. King says this isn't the first time he has been threatened, but this is the first time he heard it quite like this. The way that it rang in his ears. He rose and he went to the kitchen to heat up some coffee, thinking that that would calm him down, but he couldn't shake what just happened. This was where I identified. This was his moment of reckoning. At that moment, he is sitting at the table and he begins to try and pull on his theological and his philosophical understanding. He's trying to use the intellect to rationalize the reasoning of sin and evil. None would come. He couldn't call on his father, who was about 175 miles away. And he couldn't call on his mother, because I do believe at that time she was no longer there. Couldn't call on any of his friends. I've had those moments. I remember having a situation go on, and I picked up the phone to call my dad, and my dad, he wasn't there. And I didn't realize it until I called the phone number and waited for the phone to be picked up. And somebody else answered the line. He realized that this was the time he needed to call on the only one who could give him that inner peace when all chaos breaks loose. He needed to call on God at this moment. So how many of you have had this moment when your religion has to become real?
Amen.
When you draw the line and you say boldly, no more. Today is the day that I stop allowing anything, anyone, including myself, to come between me and God. How many can say no more? When I thought about what I had gone through to be standing here today, the pains, the hurts, the cuts, the bruises, the tears. You don't know another person's story unless you take the moment to get to know the person telling the story. You can't go based on folk tales, because we know that folk tales are embellished. You want to know something about somebody, be bold enough, mature enough to go before them and say, hey, just want to get a chance to get to know you. We have to get to that point where we no longer play church. Go because it is expected. It's what we've always done. And child, I don't want to hear nobody's mouth about where I was. But you have to make up in your mind that what you are standing on is the word, in the church that lives within you, not the building. We must stop just being hearers, readers, and doers of the word, but we must be trusters of the word. So how does one man change the world? First, he knows that he's more than a conqueror. Romans 8:37 and 39 says, "No, in all things that we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God, and that is in Christ Jesus our Lord." So, it's cool to say that I'm a conqueror, but do you know what that means? It means that uncomfortable struggles happen, but you can't look at them in the negative sense. You got to look at them as opportunities. We must understand that the struggles that come for us, they come to give us confidence when we overcome them. It gives us challenges to work towards something. When you're challenged, your muscles are worked out. Okay? It also puts us in our place when we lose sight of our position, when we get the big head. Uncomfortable situations come to make you realize where you really are. Two types of folks that deal with this uncomfortable place. There's the one who attacks the discomfort and they make it go away. They hit it head on and they're just like, no, draw the line in the sand, you're not going no further than this. And then you have the other one who will run temporarily to numb their discomfort and lose themselves in external alternatives, which makes the discomfort appear to go away, but sooner or later, discomfort runs back right after you. When the discomfort comes in, remember you are more than a conqueror. You are a fighter. Yes. Because at some point in life, we are all will fight with discomfort, whether it be it now or it be it later. We must grow from it and we must learn from it. We must embrace the pain. You have to embrace your pain. You don't turn your face from your pain. You don't hide from your pain. You don't let somebody else deal with your pain. You yourself have to embrace it. And the reason why you have to embrace your pain is because it is part of your purpose to help somebody else in that same type of pain get through the pain, to let them know they are more than conquerors. Yes. So can one man change the world? Yes, he can, because he is more than a conqueror. So, second thing that he must do, invest in himself. Invest in himself. We have a lot of causes that we spend time on, and we have a lot of secondary projects that we deal with, but yet, have you made yourself a project? The essence of life is to do the best that you can do, but I bet you didn't know that humans are the only life form that will do less than they possibly can. So, how much time do you spend on working on you? Are we making conscious effort to develop ourselves, or do we wait for the hookup? Y'all know what the hookup is. You got Aunt Beatrice that knows somebody that has a job, and they might or might not be able to help you. They can get it lined up, but they got to go talk to them, and then Pookie, and there might be 6 other people in front of you, but you won't get the hookup. But you never know when it's going to occur. The top reasons they seem to continue to rear its ugly head. What would you say the top reasons are? The things continue to rear its ugly head to keep you from investing in yourself. First, be it the lack of self-esteem. The next, limited vision. We put limitations and ceilings on a whole lot. And we sure put shackles on God. And the last being fear. But the funny thing was fear being the one that was noted the most that kept people paralyzed. You know how you have a lot going on, and it seems as soon as you have laid your head on the pillow, the alarm goes off, and we keep hitting the snooze button, saying, give me 10 more minutes. Just need 10 more minutes. Please give 10 more minutes. When we keep doing that, it seems this happens when we have no focus and no drive. Seems like it's the hardest thing to get out of bed. But boy, let the things be on track. You are checking things off your to-do list, feeling great. Child, you even up before the alarm goes off. You up clean up the house. You done a couple of loads of laundry. You done cook breakfast and can't wait for the day to begin. Now I know there have been points that everybody in this room has done that. So, if one or the other has occurred for you, you have to ask yourself this simple, very, very simple little question. Are we resting to renew our reserves, or are we resting to avoid the day? Wow. Many times words have been spoken over and over, and they're thrown at our lives. We don't question any of the things that are said to us. We just pull them in and we accept them, and we put them on our back and they put them in our purse and we carry them. Some of the reasons why we may not question this is because, Sister so-and-so said it to me, so, she's a woman of God and I trust what she said. And, okay, I don't know if I agree with that though. And then it might be your mama that told you, or you just needed that word today. You just wanted someone to pay attention to you. But if the words are not empowering, why are you believing them and accepting them? Anytime a person gives you a prophetic word, and not everybody can prophesy, so that you know this. If it does not confirm within your spirit, might want to recheck and go before the throne yourself, because that's why Jesus died, so that we can go before the throne ourselves behind the veil. But I got to clarify something now that I made that statement. There's a difference when a person speaking over your life is working within their own abilities, and it just tears you down. And then there's the one who clearly has heard from the Lord and is being used as a vessel, and you just don't like what they're saying. Because now you got to face the man in the mirror. But I believe these words that do not empower you and not knowing the word for yourself, so you can speak against that negativity, you're going to wither and you're going to die. Maybe not a physical death, but on a spiritual death. Ezekiel 37, 1 through 14 talks about the dry bones. It discusses this place and illustrates the prophecy of new life in a nation restored in chapter 36. But in chapter 37, the Lord tells the Son of Man what to expect and to speak to the dry bones. That breath would be blown into their bodies. So what am I saying to you? You got to be your biggest investor. You can't have somebody invest in you more than you invest in yourself. The things that you can invest in, the things that you have some sort of lead or the investment that you have in them, the better off you're treated. If you have no investment, there's no loss to you. God is saying to speak into your dry situation with the authority that you have been given by God. The new life is sustainable and breath can be blown into your body. You do not have to accept dry bones. So, again, can one man change the world? Yes. He can, because he has been given the authority to speak life into his situation. With the power of the tongue we are given life or death. What are you going to speak into yours? My last point is no more excuses. I just can't handle this no more. If y'all were in my shoes, y'all would know what I go through. You would know why I didn't finish that task. Boy, if Pookie and them had distracted me and reminded me what that brother Jaqueen had done, I probably would have helped them. Maybe next time I'll do it. I've been running ragged all week long. I'm going to need this day right here. Sunday, I need to be in the house and catch up on my rest. It's not the fact that we get hit hard from life. Because if you didn't know by now, life can deliver some powerful blows. It's not how hard you get hit, but it's after the hit. Do you continue to move forward? Or do you get paralyzed? Are we willing to take the hits and not point the finger at someone else? Saying it is because of them. It's because of them. I am not where I'm supposed to be. Instead of looking at the man in the mirror. Starting today, this is what I want y'all to do. I want y'all to laugh when your situations arise and tell life it is not within my power that I exist, but it is within the power and authority that I've been given by the Creator of all that exists. My environment shall not dictate to me. I shall dictate to my environment. We are more than conquerors, the head and not the tail. Nietzsche says, if you know the why for living, know your purpose. You can endure any way it comes. Jesus' death, the ultimate sacrifice and the most significant, changed the world. It changed mankind. Jesus turned back around and handed us life back. Change did not end with his life, but it actually began because of it. You may think you have no significance, that your words don't make a difference in anyone's life. You haven't impacted a soul, you just brushed aside or wasted space questioning if you've made a difference in anyone's life. Don't allow yourselves to give in to these thoughts, my people. We could be one act of obedience away from God. Your words can change the course of someone who was about to commit suicide, someone who was about to walk out on his family, someone who was about to quit school, someone who was just needed that nudge to begin their destiny. What if it wasn't the staff member on the intercessory team who was paid to do nothing but pray for Billy Graham, but it was the unknown man or woman who has quietly ministered to him all these years. And as I come to my close, I'm going to leave you with these thoughts. One man has a dream of changing the world. He sets off on a journey, and as he is on his journey, he gets tired and discouraged with all these different cultures. He changed his mind, and he says, well, if I can't change the world, I certainly can change the nation. He sets out again, but wouldn't you know, the state politicians are deadlocked, and they go on recess until after the break. He changes his mind again, and he sets his sights on the state in which he lives. The man sets out again with new hope. Out he goes, but again he gets frustrated by the response of the people in the state. He changes his mind again, and he sets his sights on his community. Surely he hopes this will be different. Unfortunately, he gets blindsided by the board, and they have even voted him off the committee. The man is furious. Well, now the man comes home and he tells his wife and children, that's it, I done had enough. He goes into this big old rampage with his wife. She goes back to cooking and cleaning. His kids turn their attention away, and they go back to the video game. The man is feeling defeated, and he calls upon the one who can make a way out of no way. He looks at himself in the mirror, and he says, God, I am not sure why these things happen the way that they did, but I am sure I am purposed to change the world. I may not be able to control the actions of others, but I can control my own. The man began changes within himself, and with every move he was sure to consult God so that he knew he was in God's permissible will. The family saw the changes, the consistency and the commitment, which motivated them to begin to make a change within themselves. As the family grew closer and stronger, they worked in the community in areas that were not on the priority list of the committee. The hope of the people in the community was renewed, and they caused them to get more involved with state legislation. The state became more stable, which impacted the nation, which then turned and impacted the world. So, you see, one man can be the ripple that starts a tidal wave. We are all designed by God to make the difference in the world. God has created us with a purpose in mind. And if and when we find that purpose and we complete it, we will change the world. So how many of you want to be the man that changes the world? How many of you today have declared within your spirits, and you are willing to decree and have someone speak in agreement with you that you can change the world? But we have to realize that we have to start within ourselves. As the intercessory team is coming up, they're going to stand and they're going to only agree with you today. They're going to stand in agreement with you. That is what we're praying for, that you can look at the man in the mirror, make the necessary changes that need to be made within yourself. And Sister Dawn and Minister Samuel, please. Will you make a stand? Are you willing to not allow fear anymore to tell you what you should be doing? Are you going to not allow another voice or hidden agendas within yourself, or yourself as a hindrance, cause you not to stand and agree with God that you want to be the man that makes change the world? Is there anyone that wants to make that change? I ask that you meet in the middle aisle, and that the intercessory team will pray for you. They'll pray with you. They'll stand in agreement with you. You see, because if you continue to walk in fear, if you continue to say yes to the naysayers and no to God, if you continue not to be who you were purposed to be, what ripple will you cause in this world? There's the yin and the yang, and there is the good and the positive and the negative. It's time that we just love on one another. It's time that we just be who we were meant to be.